And we're back, and you're listening to your host, Dr. Terry Mason, the show, The Doctor in the House. And we're having a great conversation. We're continuing our second generation conversation. Last week we had a second generation conversation about economic development. And this week we're having a second generation conversation about the role, because if we don't have the right guidance, spiritually and mentally, then the money that we make or the money that we would generate won't go to its right and proper use. And even though we're looking at trying to create an economic foundation for people, for our people, and for anyone who agrees with us, that it's important that we have the right moral goalpost and the right moral guidepost that sort of help us determine which way we go, because we see what's happening with those people that we see on the videos and everything else, the drinking, the drugging, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And those are the images that are often connected with young people. And unfortunately, these are the images that they use and they put on television programs that help to continue to pollute the mind and spirit of the people, of all people. All of these reality shows, all of these, I'm not going to mention any of these shows by name, but certainly we know what I'm talking about. And these are not the kinds of shows that will help do the kinds of things that we're talking about here. So I want to continue the conversation with Yosef. We were just having a conversation really around that. And this is, you say, well, this is a health show. How are you having a conversation like this? This is the most important health. Without spiritual and mental health, you won't do anything right. Even if you had good physical health, you won't be doing anything right. So we want to really move forward and do the right things. And I want to highlight the voices of young people. I'm no graybeard now. It's my time to move out into a different role, and that is one of counseling and providing the opportunity for you guys to do what I've been doing for the last 20 some odd years. So you want to pick up where you left off. You're talking about this whole notion of when you were working with your friend and trying to create a space. So you want to pick it up right there?
Yes, sir. Before I go back into the message, I just want to give you another heartfelt thank you and gratitude for you extending this invitation to us, because this is the only way we combat the lies of deception and the image that has been painted and presented to the world of black men and women of America and of this planet, but especially of America, by giving those who have something to say a voice, and giving those who have the ability to reach the hearts of our generation. And so what you're doing is so instrumental for my growth and development, but for those who are listening, and those who may be listening in the future, and those who may be coming in contact with you or me or Brother Daniyel or anybody who's putting and presenting truth in a proper manner and fashion. So this is so critical, and I just want to thank you. But
You're so welcome.
Going back to what you said, like you said, this is health. This is the most important and the most imperative health that we have to focus on as a people. Because understanding the physical aspects of life without giving credence to the spirit that gives life, we will continue to be in this cycle of death and devastation. Self-devastation, because we have to be able to activate that essence of God within us to be able to obtain the necessary freedom that we so desperately need. So I'm saying this to say that, as it's taught to me by Prince Asiel Ben Israel, the activation of the heart brain. And the heart brain is so critical because it is, as you know as a medical doctor, it's the first organ that's formed in the body. It's the thing when you check for the fetus inside the mother's womb, it shows that life is there. And so we have to recheck our hearts now at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old to see if there's life there. And if you're not using, perpetuating that heart brain, you're void of life. Yeah, you're walking around, you're doing things, but you're a shell of who you really are supposed to be. And so as I reach out to my generation and continue to reach out to my generation, that is the focus and the focal point in which I am conversating with them about, is activating that heart brain, because activating that heart brain does not allow you to be deceived anymore, because they can reprogram your neurological pathways and insert deception and lies, and you would think subconsciously that you're doing the right thing. But once you activate your heart brain, which is the God brain, now deception and lies flee from the body. Like when you put in the right vegetables and the right fruits, certain cancers and certain ailments flee from the body because it gives the nutritional value that your body needs to be mineralized at the optimal level. That's what truth does to the spirit, does to the heart. It gives you your body the optimal level of health so now that you can be your best self. Now think about how more productive we will be as a people if we're operating at that level. Now think about the infrastructure and the institutions we can create if we're operating at that level with the activation of our heart brain to go along with our cranium knowledge that we have ascertained over these decades and centuries. This is a critical thing that we're facing right now because we're looking at this thing like we have time. But as you can see, the time is gone. We have to do this now. It's been past time, actually. And so that's one of the things I'm pressing upon my generation, that we have to act and do something now. We have to pull those people like the Dr. Terry Masons, the Prince Asiels, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, anybody that has the ability to teach and guide and to structure us in a path that we can have liberation for us as a people has to be done now. There's no more time to waste. We look at these movies and things like The Purge where you see, oh, that'd be crazy if that happens. People killing each other just randomly for 8 hours a day. It happens every day, 24 hours a day, all times throughout this planet, but definitely here in America. We see it every time we turn on the TV, every time we read the newspaper, somebody's died, somebody's been killed, 20 murders on the expressway. All these things that happen. So I'm saying we got to wake up, people. We've been become numb to death and devastation so long that we feel that it's just a reality now. That's not true. It's reality that has been constructed and created to disconnect us from our true selves. So this is what I'm saying going forward. It's certain institutions and infrastructure when we build these economic bases that we have to create. One of the things that I'm teaching my generation is agricultural sciences. It's not one thing just to know what fruits and vegetables to eat, but you have to know how to grow and to develop them, how to cultivate them, and what they do for the body. So now you know when you have a little slight cough or a sneeze, what vegetables and what the vitamin C does and what potassium does and what calcium does and how it fortifies and strengthens the body so that you know how to accurately heal yourself. So now only doctors we need are trauma surgeons if you break a bone or something like that, because all those other medicines or illusions of medicines are not needed anymore because we know how to self-correct. The other thing we have to do if we're going to be ever a self-sufficient, self-determined, self-sustainable people is create clean energy sources that are contrary to these gas companies, to these water companies that we've become so dependent on fossil fuels. We have to get back to it. If we're going to grow our own fruits and vegetables, that means we have to start purifying the earth again. That means we have to use energy sources that are not contrary to the growth of this planet, but are and help and harmonious with this planet. So we can't pollute the air no more. We can't pollute the water no more. We can't pollute the soil no more. So we got to develop clean energy sources. And also that gives us ability to be more self-sufficient economically because we don't have to pay millions and billions of dollars to these gas companies anymore, which is also creating our own death on this planet because we're pulling and extracting so much stuff from the earth that it's dying. We're destroying and killing the earth. And before it dies, because it's a living organism, it'll destroy us. And then the third thing is the recalibration of our moral and spiritual compass. Like you said, if we can have all the money in the world, but if we don't develop strategic guidelines, universal laws that govern the proper manner of behavior for us as men and women and how to conduct ourselves, we're never going to reach any type of liberation, any type of salvation or self-sufficiency. So these are the three things that I'm focused on for my generation, Dr. Terry Mason, so that we can come out of this death and devastation that's been put on us for so long.
So, when you talked about these things, and those of you who want to hear more about what's happening with our planet, what's happening with the things that Yosef has come across, there was a program called The Prophets of Doom. And The Prophets of Doom was a collection of about 6 guys that talked about the collapse of the economic system, the inevitable collapse of the economic system, the inevitable collapse of what's happening as it relates to our dependence on fossil fuels, the issues around all of the things that are creating death and destruction on the planet. It's called the Prophets of Doom. It was a PBS special. It was a History Channel. It was on the History Channel. And it's called the Prophets of Dooms, not Profits, Prophets, prophets, as a prophet, someone who prophesies. And you should really watch that because it goes with what you're saying. And the other thing about teaching people to eat in terms of the planet, we know that if we eat the way we're supposed to eat, and not rely so much on and not have an animal-based way of eating, we save the planet.
Absolutely.
Because right now there's another movie you could watch called Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy. And in Cowspiracy, they talk about that that 99% of the devastation that we're seeing is due to animal agriculture, that we're losing almost an acre a second of the Amazon rainforest, that the water footprint, and just something as simple as a hamburger, but it takes 66 gallons of water to produce a third of a pound hamburger. And that if you look at the land use and the devastation to our rivers and streams because of the runoff from where these huge areas where cattle are raised, where you have hundreds of thousands of head of cattle and they're pooping, that poop gets washed away into the streams, creates dead zones in the ocean, we're overfishing the ocean. It's a really great movie that I would say people should watch. It's called Cow, C-O-W, Spiracy, like instead of conspiracy, Cowspiracy.
No, that's absolutely correct. These are little things that we can implement now for our salvation. And so, listening to you, Dr. Terry Mason, like I said, is so inspiring and so uplifting. And I think my brother Daniyel can concur as well, is because...
Well, I was you, man. When I was 26, I was you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I understand. Because I was you. I was 20. When I was 26, I was in the nation. And I was in the nation trying to, and listening to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And not only what he said, but what he did. What you could see. And it was the opportunity to become a physician in the medical center that we were building, which was my inspiration to go to medical school. Because that's what we've got to inspire your generation to get people who think like you think to go into medicine and to go into some of these other areas, because we're going to need them. But we're going to need the people with the right heart. We're going to need people with the right mind, the right orientation. We need them to go to business schools, not just to learn the practices, but some of the skills that are necessary to take us from merchanthood to being major players. We have, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed us that we could do commerce and business with people all over the world, which would take us away from just having a small mom pop kind of operation to international business. That's not going to be without challenges, but it's certainly, and your dad was very instrumental in talking about trying to do that. So I'm excited, and I'm excited because what I see in you was me 50 years ago, or 40 some odd years ago. So that's it. Well, I'll be 65 in a few months. So it was that long ago. So I'm just excited that you're excited and that you are doing this. So tell me, where are you meeting the youth? If somebody's out there listening right now,
yes, sir,
who has, because I believe that our children are basically great people.
Yeah,
we just been some of us have been misdirected, and some of us, you say, don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. Our criminal justice system has created a system where even if they tried to do right, to go back to school, they can't do it now. They're totally locked out. So if there's a parent, if there's somebody who wants to say, I heard this wonderful young man on the radio, these two young men on the radio today, and you say you're teaching, I assume that means you're having a class.
Yes, sir.
And if you're having a class, where are you having it? Or people should call you or send you an email, how should they get in contact with you to talk about more about it?
First and foremost, you got the contact information, Daniyel, that you want to reach us on. But we are holding classes. We just restarted our classes at Original Soul Vegetarian, 205 East 75th Street. It's across the street of Indiana 75th, 3 blocks east of the Dan Ryan Expressway. And it's held every other Friday at 7:30 to 9:30 roughly. And we've been covering a lot of topics that are tantamount to our liberation. The first class was covered cognitive dissonance. It's when your mind occupies two conflicting thoughts at the same time, something that we all suffer from, going back to this health and understand the psychological detriments that we face. Last week was the last class was revolutionary versus evolutionary, which is showing how do we get out of this cycle of continuing the same thing over and over again. How do we evolve and grow into that God, man, and woman that we were created to be. And then this upcoming class, which will be this Friday at 7:30, what is that, May 27th or 26th, something like that? Well, this upcoming
27th.
Friday, the 27th, it would be chemical castration. And that's going to be a great one. I don't want to give too many details, but it's going to cover all the things that we're facing, us as a generation, and we've been facing for many generations, and just the onslaught and the bombardment of these deaf institutions that have created this product that we've seen right now, us as where we at in the state that we are in as a people. So the email that you can email us if you want to get in contact is realitycheck101tv@gmail.com. realitychect101tv@gmail.com. You can also reach me at my business cell 312-391.
Okay, I'm not giving your numbers out
522.
Give your numbers out
But
over
it's
the
a
phone.
business cell. It's for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not my personal number. So you can have that. You can reach me.
What's that number again? I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 312-391-5234. And if you're interested in hearing more what we got to say or being involved in this growth and development, our liberation as a people, and just getting some knowledge, you can reach us at those two sites. Also,
And we don't want people coming down to thinking they're going to debate. This is not about a debate.
No.
We're not having an open forum in a debate. You're teaching. They come to listen to what you have to say. So you'll see, where does this come from? Why do you want to do this?
I see the necessity for it. Like you said, it's no outlets, especially in my generation, nobody in their 20s. Their message has been so watered down. And I see those great men and women who sacrificed so much and dedicated their whole lives to having some awareness as a people and really growing and developing and evolving to being a liberated people. And I'm seeing my generation, not as a whole, but 98% of us really disconnected from that and really using the same instrument that has been created to destroy us as a means of salvation. And I just can't sit by idly and let that happen. I have to speak out against these atrocities because I feel that's one of the worst things, more worse than the violence, is the silence that we keep in these situations. So somebody has to be a voice for the generation to really spread these truths and to disseminate it. And so that we can use the knowledge and the education that has been given to us from our ancestors to create a new paradigm. So that's ultimately what I'm doing. It's not just speaking and talking, but formulating a team and group of men and women that can create a new paradigm. So that's the key thing.
You know, and I really want to thank you for doing it because we don't get these kind of messages often. So you want to respond on this the revolution, evolution, and what you really meant by that?
Yes, sir. As my studies took me, when I really broke down the word of revolution, it's a fundamental political change, but not a change in its totality. And also, when you look further in the definition of revolution, the fourth definition, something that goes around in a circle, it revolves. And I'm saying that's what our cycle been as revolutions. We've been repeating the same steps that everybody has preceded us done. So I'm saying at some point we have to evolve and understand what evolution is. Evolution is more of a gradual process, but it's a total, complete change. Something that systematically and totally changes something more complex. So as we become more complex beings, we understand the simplicity of life. But in our complexity, it gives us a realm to control more of our reality. And as revolutionaries, we just want to change faces. And we're not saying we don't want to change faces anymore. We get content with and so caught up in the faces of who are saying these things that we lose the message that they're actually coming with. So that's because they got a nice face and they may come with decent words. Their intent is devious. So I'm saying let's get to the point where we vet the people's heart, that we can evolve past the superficial aspects of what attracts us to men and women and get to the heart of the matter so that we can really shed ourselves of these impediments going forward.